students, welcome back to art class. I'm out here sketching outside for our lesson today. Hope you all had a great spring break and are really enjoying this time with your families. Today we're going to be talking about en plein air drawing or painting. What does that mean? Well, it just means to draw or paint outside in nature with the natural light of the sun and where you observe and you draw things that interest you. I'm drawing a tree over there. I'm looking at each branch and I'm sketching it. I'm drawing lightly to start with. And when you're kind of far away, the leaves together can kind of just look like squiggles. So I'm adding squiggles over each branch. So last week, we did observational drawings and paintings of still lifes. That was of fruit and flowers. So I thought a great follow-up to that lesson would be to go outside and draw from observation again, where you get to choose what you want to draw. Now for a little art history lesson, there was a group of artists in the 1800s, and they were led by a man named Claude Monet. And he decided to change the way that painters painted. Instead of painting inside of a studio based on sketches they might have done outside or ideas in their mind, he wanted to go outside and paint right from what was there in front of him. It sounds like, of course, people would do that, but at the time, people didn't do that. So he would actually paint the same scene over and over again at different times of day with different light, and it would look totally different. The Impressionists, they didn't care if it looked perfectly smooth and real like a photograph. They wanted it to be more experimental and free to capture the impression of what was there. So they painted fast. They used big dabs of color, and they didn't mix their colors too much. So when you look up close at Impressionist painting, you see lots of strokes of color, and it pops out from the canvas in 3 dimensions. Claude Monet was a French painter. Now, he actually created his own garden, and he painted it over many years. He's most famous for water lilies and a Japanese bridge that he built. He gave one of his paintings of water lilies, which is a huge, gigantic painting, to the people of France as a gift. And this was during World War I, and he put it on display in an art museum there. He wanted to give a feeling of peace to the people. Something that's also really interesting about how Impressionism started was 3 inventions. The first one was the camera. And in the mid-1800s, with the first pictures being taken, people started to see the world in a whole new way. It's hard for us to imagine now because we take pictures all the time. But with a photograph, you could freeze somebody in time. People had never seen that before. It actually really influenced the way that people painted. They started painting more like photographs. And also, with the creation of the camera, because it could show something perfectly realistically, and you could have that photograph forever, Impressionists didn't care if it looked perfectly realistic. They were more free to experiment with their style of painting. Now, another invention that influenced Impressionism was the paint tube. Oh, here's one. The paint tube was invented in the mid-1850s, and before that, artists actually had to take jars of powdered pigment and oils, and they had to mix them together each time they wanted to paint. It took a long time, but when someone invented the paint tube, artists could then go right outside and take their paint with them wherever they wanted. They could just squeeze out the paint under their palette and they would be ready to go. A third invention that really allowed the Impressionists to be able to do what they did, go outside and paint wherever they wanted, was this cool thing. It's called a French easel. Whoa. So some of them actually have backpack straps. This one just has a strap like this so you can carry it. So you can go wherever you want. Then it's like a transformer. Watch this. Awesome! So now, the Impressionists also used this really cool tool called a viewfinder. With this, they could make a composition, which means how you arrange things in an artwork. So they could frame things in the world around them, take away everything else, and it would be the same dimensions of their canvas or paper. And what you have to do while you're looking through it, you actually have to close one eye. Because of our vision, it can kind of you can kind of see double if you don't close one eye. Now for this lesson, I'm actually going to show you how to make one. So follow along. Okay, so for this one, I used cardboard. But for some of you, you might not have cardboard, or it might be a little too hard to cut out. So I'm going to show you with just using a paper bag. You could also just use any stiff paper like cardstock. This is just one way to do it. You could do it a little bit differently. So I am going to first measure 7 inches. Then I'm going to measure 8 inches. So the outside frame will be 7 by 8 inches to make a rectangle. Okay, so now you can measure in to make the inside rectangle. You measure in 2 inches. And now you can connect them. So now I have a rectangle inside that is 3 inches by 4 inches. Then you can cut it out. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to take you through the steps of this lesson. Step 1, you're going to create your own artist viewfinder. So step 2, you're going to gather your materials all at one time as best you can. So you don't have to go running back and forth. You're going to get materials of your choice. Definitely a pencil, maybe some colored pencils, and if you have them. If you have it and you really want to, you could get a watercolor palette, water, and some brushes. Next, you're going to choose a spot outside to draw. So find somewhere where you can be comfortable, where you can sit, and where there is going to be some interesting views that you can find. Then you're going to use your viewfinder and you're going to try to find something, wow, I really want to draw that. Then you're going to set up and you're going to start drawing. If you happen to have an easel, that might be best. You can have your paper up. You can tape it up on the easel. Now, of course, you don't have to have a French easel. And then you can hold your viewfinder up and draw. If you don't, you can figure it out another way. You could sit down, you could have your paper on a clipboard or any kind, or a book. Step 4, you're going to start drawing. Again, we're talking about observation. So you're going to try your best to draw what you really see. And to start with, remember to sketch lightly, like this. And so now that you've started to sketch some of your outlines of things that you see, I want to talk to you about step 5, where we talk about perspective and overlapping. So because you're drawing something that is in a 3D space, you want to think about how you show things that are farther away, maybe a little smaller, and things that are closer to you are going to look bigger. And also, you want to think about overlapping. So you want to draw things like they're hidden behind other things. That's called overlapping. So here, I see a plant that is in front of a tree. So I'm sketching a leaf, and then I'm going to actually draw the tree looking like it's growing up out of the leaf, but it's really hidden behind. And then I'm going to draw smaller saw palmetto leaves behind it. So for step 6, you're going to add in all of the different textures you see. So if you see some things that are rough, you can maybe do some little dots called stippling. You can show it another way, how you think it looks like. For something that's smooth, you can do shading with your pencil or colored pencils, where you go back and forth softly over areas with your pencil or colored pencils. Then you can add in all of your color. So have fun, go outside and make some art.